I have been with my wife for 14 years. She is an amazing spouse, partner, and mother. She is a great woman and I'm happy with the beautiful family we've made. That being said, my one true love is a woman I was with right before I met my wife. This woman and I dated for 3 years. She changed my life with her love. She introduced me to so much. When we were together everything was electric. I could listen to her talk for hours and just enthralled by her. She was the only person I trusted enough to pour my heart out to. Even my wife I can't do this with. She was my perfect match. Compatible in every way. No one has made me laugh like her, made me feel pure unadulterated happiness as her, and I have never been with a lover that I have felt as physically and emotionally connected as her. If there are soulmates, she was mine. In the short time we were together we planned out our lives, together forever. Unfortunately, she needed to leave the country. Her parents were in an accident killing her father and leaving her mother in need of care. I was serving military commitment fresh out of college and I couldn't go with her. We tried to make it work but when it became clear we wouldn't be together for another 3 years. She became more withdrawn after the accident and resented me for not being able to be with her. I could feel the separation was slowly destroying us, so I set her free. It broke me but it seemed like the best thing for both of us. I don't think I'll ever forget our time together. As much as I love my wife, I know the love between us is not as real as me and my ex's love. I married my wife out of convenience and I grew to love her. A few years back I got into contact with my ex again. She is married too with kids but she has also never forgotten and is still in love with me and wishes things could have been different. We talk sometimes nothing is ever inappropriate. I of course would choose my wife and family over her anytime but if I saw her in person again, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't be worried something inappropriate might happen. My girlfriend of 3 years recently committed suicide and it broke me like I feel hollow. I cried for 3 days straight leading up to her funeral. When I got there her mom ran up to me hitting my chest crying saying I could have stopped her and I should have known she was depressed. Her mom blames me for her daughter's death. Her husband brought her away and her sister told me I had to leave the funeral. I turned away in tears crying, do you honestly think I knew and did nothing about it? I wish it me instead of her. I swear to God I didn't know she felt like that. Started when I would wake up in the night and didn't want to turn the bathroom light on, also didn't want to piss all over everything. Now I don't see why all men don't do it this way. Why stand when you can sit? Winston Churchill. My friend texted me goodbye yesterday and then ended his life. Once he said it he immediately did it. There was no way I could stop him. I tried calling him over and over again but to no avail. He locked the door to his room before he did it so the parents had to kick down the door to get in after I told them what happened. I can't believe I couldn't cry. I've spent so much time with him and I just couldn't. Is there something wrong with me? After that whole crazy situation I just couldn't drop a single tear. I hate him. I understand they are better for the environment and turtles and stuff but why TF should I have to taste paper every damn sip of my drink? Tons of oil burning and destroying shit and I bet those corporate bastards use plastic straws. Look, I'm sorry guys, I do my part but I'ma have to pass on these damn straws. Need to give a fair bit of backstory to this but I'll try and keep it relevant. I'm a guy, nearing 30 and completely straight. When I was younger, 2003 onward, I started spending most of my time online. I was a weird nerdy kid that wasn't interested in stuff most other people were my age and I got picked on a fair bit in school and didn't really have any friends to do anything with after school, so the computer and internet became my retreat. I got into MMOs at 12, and learned about catfishing. If you made girl characters and pretended to be a girl then guys would white knight you and give you free stuff. This could be a whole other story but I started doing this and it ended up being an obsession. For years my entire online presence was masquerading as a girl and I had separate email, MSN and a made-up name, pictures etc. I used for all of the friends I made this way. I had loads of friends who I basically lied to daily, flirted with, made up days worth of events and even faked things like family deaths, funerals, good and bad news etc. Most of the time I was posing as a 16-17-year-old girl and usually the guys were a similar age. As this was the early mid-OS, mics and headsets were not commonplace and voice chat wasn't very popular, so there wasn't as much expectation to prove anything. So this one guy, we'll call him T from now on, I met on a game when I was about 14, I played with him for several months, speaking daily, and ended up adding him on MSN. We'd talk every evening. He was 16 and from a different part of the UK, and I was supposedly 15 and the year below him in school. We'd confess all our secrets to each other and flirt every day. It was like one of those situations where we'd both rush home to talk to each other, only my side was mostly a fabrication. He wasn't a typical nerdy kid, but he had a pretty messed up abusive family life, and despite what sounded like being fairly popular in school, he spent a lot of time on video games when home. Even though it never really got sexual, things were very cutesy cringe for nearly 2 years, talking every night, lots of flirting, hearts, kisses, etc. I went through a bit of a transitional period in life and lost contact with him. For starters, he started talking about wanting to travel to meet up when he went to uni, etc., which freaked me out a bit, and secondly, my older brother accidentally saw some of the chats and laughed his head off saying I had a boyfriend, etc., which embarrassed the hell out of me. I got some IRL friends and stopped coming on the PC as much, and I started gaming with people I knew IRL plus on voice chat, so my online identities were being remade as me instead, which meant I pretty quickly lost interest, phased out of using the MSN account, and didn't have any other way to be reached. I feel kinda bad about this for reasons explained later. So, fast forward to now, almost 15 years later. Out of complete chance I moved to the part of the UK his family lived in when we chatted, as my girlfriend lives there. This didn't really cross my mind at first, as it's a fairly big area and it had been a long time, and I didn't know specifically where he was from, only the general area. Me and my GF went to a bit of a house party where there were a lot of random friends of friends, etc. Obviously I had completely forgotten about this time in my life, forgotten about him and all the other people I catfished, and at this party I join in with some guys having drunken fun playing Halo on Xbox, and one of them makes a comment about preferring PC controls. I get chatting to him about PC gaming and he introduces himself as T, a friend of GF's friend. Again, I didn't recall or suspect anything by this point, but when we started talking about the glory days of PC MMO gaming, he said that he played the hell out of XMMO, the one I also played. I was like, no way. And thought it was such a coincidence that we both played on the same server as well and could both remember some of the names of the same popular players on that server. He started asking my character name and guild, etc., as he might remember me, but I hesitated as I had a very female-sounding name and didn't want to be embarrassed by it, so I just said I couldn't remember. It was just something cringe random I made up. At this point I felt a cold terror wash over me as I remembered the T from my childhood and thought, surely this can't be him? And that if it was, I could have nearly dropped myself into a very awkward situation had I mentioned anything that linked back to me then. I had limited memory of the time, but I started probing a bit to see if it really was him. I couldn't remember his character names, but I started asking about what he studied at UNI and what his hobbies were, as the T I remembered was big on a specific and quite niche hobby. Lo and behold, it was him. I was completely gobsmacked by the level of chance and play, and I desperately wanted to try and say I knew you back in the day. What a coincidence. But I couldn't really do that without exposing myself and my shame. Fast forward several months, we exchanged contacts at the party and we are pretty decent friends now, play games and chat most days. I was still morbidly curious about his side of our past together, and one evening I managed to steer the conversation in our group while gaming onto internet relationships, as I met and spoke to my GF for a fair while online before we first met IRL. I pressed him on if he had ever had any relationships, and he said yeah, when he was younger he didn't have a great life at home and got super involved with a girl he met on the MMO he both played, but that it tapered off and she kinda just disappeared on him, which left him quite heartbroken as he had no way to find out where she was or ended up back then. Made me feel super bad, already ashamed of this all as it is. I think I just enjoyed the positive attention I got online as a girl when I got none at all in real life. He's a great guy, but I think this is one I'll have to take to the grave. There is no way I can even admit to something like this. After he said the above, I had actually considered getting a hold of his email and send him a fake catch-up email from the said girl just to give him some closure to know where she ended up with some BS story on managing to track him down, But I quickly realized I was being a total idiot and that could open up a ridiculous can of worms or lead to more pain for him.